Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Fiume, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have another guest co-host. I have the founder of Mini Athletics, my friend Kirk Bowyer. Kirk, what is going on?
Hey, Frank, you good?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to doing this show with you today.
Yeah, me too. I was thinking about if there was any British American duos, famous duos that we could aspire to, but I couldn't really think of any. Elton John and Kiki D. I felt that was a good duo.
What was that one? I don't get that one.
Elton John and Kiki D.
Oh, Elton John. Oh, I didn't hear that. Wait, Elton John and Billy Joel.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's pretty cooler than Kiki D.
We got one.
There you go. So we could be as good as that.
I don't know if we could be as good as them, but we are going to bring on our guest. Before we bring on our guest, I want to share what you're going to be learning today. The first is what makes the fashion class so unique. Secondly, we're going to learn who is her first franchisee. And finally, we're going to find out the answer to her answer. This is why I started this business. With that said, I have the founder of the fashion class, Kerri Quigley. Kerri, welcome to not the Elton John, Billy Joel concert, but Emerging Franchise Brands. What is going on?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today. Not much is going on. How's your day been?
It's going great. Good. I'm looking forward to chatting with you with our friend Kirk. The three of us have so much in common in being in the kids space. So with that said, though, Kerri, let's start out. And why don't you share with the audience, what is the fashion class?
Sure. So the fashion class is a children's enrichment brand. We teach fashion design and sewing to ages 2 to 102 is what we say. Our main audience, I would say, is that 8, 9, 10-year-old child who wants to be creative.
How did you get this thing started?
Yeah, so I went to Parsons for business and I graduated during the recession and I could not find a job. And I started teaching sewing on the side. I'm from Brooklyn. I lived in Brooklyn at the time and I was hired to teach a sewing class all the way up in the Bronx. I would commute for about 2 hours each way to go teach this class. And after a few weeks, I realized I loved it and I was very good at it. And I was able to create lesson plans and curriculum that taught sewing in a very relatable and easy way while the children were still making garments that they could wear.
I love that you took control of your own destiny. Like, I can't get a job. Well, screw it. I'll just start my own thing.
Yes. So after a few months of that, the fashion class was officially born and I kind of started doing it full time. I was still, a bit of a gig worker here and there, but within a year I had my own 2,500 square foot studio in Midtown Manhattan.
Wow. Okay. So we talked a little bit before the show started, and I understand now you have two corporate stores, so to speak, right? You have one on the Upper East Side, Upper West Side. What was life like when you started the business? Did you kind of hit the ground running hard? Was it a little slow go? Kind of take us back to the beginning.
Sure. So back at the beginning, I was 24 years old when I rented that studio. Don't know what the landlord was thinking renting to me, but she did, thankfully. And it hit the ground running. Once I had a home base for this business, I was able to offer after-school classes, weekend, birthday parties, summer camps, and just really flesh out this huge program that not only teaches kids how to sew, but there's also design components, arts and crafts components. There's a little bit of a STEM component with things like textile science and technology and fashion history. So really was able to create this very comprehensive fashion design program for kids.
It sounds like it was very comprehensive, and it was probably a lot more than on the menu than I could have handled. But our friend Kirk, this really is very similar to what you've done with Mini Athletics.
Yeah, I was going to ask actually, Kerri, is this something that is this a passion driven business? Did you, what inspired you to launch such a business? Is it through a childhood that was filled with making things, or how did it come about?
Yeah, I definitely was a creative kid. My grandmother taught me to sew when I was about 6 years old. I was very shy, and I did not want to do theater or dance or anything that required me to be on a stage. So fashion and sewing really gave me that creative outlet, especially as a female, because sports also weren't really my thing. It gave me a very creative outlet to express myself, to build up confidence, and that kind of, was the path I chose for the rest of my life. I mean, we'll see going forward, but from age 6 to now, it's been my path. So it's definitely my passion. That being said, I don't teach the classes at this point. I'm very much the leader of a team and scheduler and doing all the boring behind the scenes stuff. But it's still a passion of mine for sure.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Because I looked at your website before we came on and did a bit of research, and I actually left so I've got 2 boys, age 7 and 11, and we're still on vacation at the moment, and they're filling time just making bracelets. But we don't have anything like the fashion class where we are. But if we did, I know that they would, especially my youngest, who I love the fact that what you've said there, that you were creative, but didn't have the confidence to do drama or whatever. That's very much that's really hit a lot of notes for me. So I think it's a really great business. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The thing that I keep coming back to as I talk to so many founders and I talk to private equity people is that what the 3 of us have in common, and so many other founders, especially like in the youth enrichment space, is we did this for the very similar reasons, is that we had a passion for something. Maybe it was fashion, maybe it was sports. I didn't realize, I don't know about you, but I didn't realize like how much of an impact I was going to be making on kids and families' lives, when the truth is I started my program because I loved sports. I mean, it was that basic. Like, I loved baseball, I loved football, soccer, basketball, and I'm like, I want to start a league. So when I started like my adult men's softball league, it was purely out of the love of softball. And then obviously going into I-9 sports and kids sports, I love the actual sport. I didn't think of it as the potential of, oh my gosh, this thing could, make millions. Do you guys feel the same?
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Kerri, I would say, Kerri, one of the things that you come to find out is that you're in a really, really unique space, right? You don't have any like direct competitors, so to speak, especially not in franchising.
Definitely not in franchising. There are hundreds of little sewing schools across the US. I would say what I do differently is we very much focus on fashion, so real and wearable clothing that our students can make. Everything is project-based, so they come in, whether it's for 2 hours or 12 weeks, they leave with something or several things that they've made that they can wear. So I think that definitely sets us apart. And we teach it in a very non-tedious way, I would say. It's a little bit faster. The payoff for the student is a little bit quicker, which I think really resonates with an 8-year-old child.
Right.
Yeah.
And so tell me about when you opened the first location, how long were you running it before you said things are taking off here, I want to open another location?
Pretty much right away. Rented my studio in 2010. By 2014, I had a second location in Merrick, Long Island. I wanted to test the concept in the suburbs, make sure that it worked outside of New York City. And it did. It definitely did. I ran that for 4 years. I ended up closing it because I wasn't quite ready to franchise at that point. And the commute was very long for me. I was living in Queens at the time, in Jamaica. So the commute was a bit long. I decided I would expand in Manhattan and look towards franchising as a way to expand this concept and grow the business.
Can I ask, Kerri, so you're at a stage now where you're going to be franchising the business. Why are you choosing franchise to expand the business?
Well, I I had children. So I actually started, sorry, that was a weird segue. I did start the franchise process in 2019. Running a business, there's always like things that happen. And one of those things that kind of sidetracked franchising was the pandemic, of course. And then I had my two children. So from, the last 5 years, I've been a little bit busy, but I always felt that franchising was a wonderful way to expand the program to other cities. There's only so much I can do, and I want to have a great quality of life. I want to be there for my kids, and I want to run my business. So me having 100 studios is really not feasible for what I want for myself. Having my children really showed me how amazing this business is for someone who is a mom. It completely changed my perspective because I was able to take a full maternity leave for 3-4 months and have my staff run the business without me, completely without me. I was off. I was gone. And that's just a really beautiful thing. Now having friends who work in corporate America and are having kids and get 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6, like it's this ridiculous amount of time. I was able to do that for myself. And that's something I'm super, super proud of. And I think that is one of the things that really pushed me back into the franchise world post-pandemic and post having kids, because it's just a really great way of life for someone with young children, older children, however you want to look at it. It just gives you a beautiful quality of life.
Sure. All right. Well, why don't you bring us up to speed then, Kerri? We're going to be coming up. We're going to be closing out 2025, and you're new to franchising. You're just kind of launching this. Where are you in the stage of franchising? FDD is approved, I assume.
FDD is approved.
You're now legal, and what states are you looking to open up in?
Sure. I just recently got my Virginia state approval in, and I have a franchisee coming on in Virginia very soon.
Congrats.
Thank you. New York is on its way, my renewal. New Jersey, which is local for me. All my nice local Northeast states down the East Coast. I love the idea of Texas and Florida as well. I registered there specifically because I think this would be fabulous in a Dallas or Houston, Miami, Tampa kind of area. So yeah, I'm just looking to expand, with the right people, the right franchisees for sure.
Well, now that you've been at this a long time, right? So you've been in business really for 15 years.
Yes.
You know what it takes to win at this. What do you think if you were going to bring on a franchisee? What exactly is going to make a really good franchisee? What do they need to do to thrive in this?
Yeah, so they don't actually need to know how to sew. And that's one thing I do want to make clear. Sewing is part of the training, obviously. You can always hire people who know how to sew. Look at local colleges, high school programs. There are always people around who do have this skill set. And what we do is we teach in an easy to intermediate sewing way. So it's not a very high level of skill set needed. And what I'm really looking for in a potential franchisee is someone who can be a team leader, someone who can engage with their community, and someone who really just has a passion for children and building confidence in that age group. Because I think that is so important. It's such a key thing for me growing up. And I really want that to spread and be an option for other kids outside of New York City.
Of course. Kirk, I'm sure you can shed some light on this for Kerri on what life then looks like as a new franchisor. Would you, and I especially for the audience, because we have also other folks that are franchising their company. So without maybe scaring Kerri too much, why don't you share your idea or, what you've experienced, what life is like when you're a brand new franchisor, bring on your first round of franchisees?
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough, because it's, obviously we've franchised in the UK and we're doing that for years. And then you get to the States and you have a budget and then you might as well times it by 5, 6, 7 to what you think it's going to cost. But I think that from our perspective is getting the people that kind of almost look like you. Develop these fantastic sites in Manhattan and New York. I suppose that's my question to you, Kerri, is who are you looking for as a franchisee? What qualities do they possess? Because when we look for a franchisee, we know specifically who we're looking for now in the US. It's quite refined. So do you know who you're looking for?
I do. I have a few different customer profiles, which is a lesson I teach to the kids, determining that. I believe a creative mom or parent would be a great franchisee. Someone who, again, wants that work-life balance. Being a parent, naturally, you end up being a leader. So I think that's a wonderful quality. I also think a wonderful person for this would be someone in the corporate world who wants to do something else, who wants to give back, who wants to work with their community and work with families. And again, they don't need to be creative, but have a passion for, enriching the lives of children in their area. So I think a corporate burnout is my term, someone who's over that. It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. Kerri, we've talked to a couple of hundred founders on this podcast alone in the past 2 years. One of the most common questions I ask people that already have franchisees is, how did you find your first, dozen franchise owners? And time again, this is pretty much the same answer. It's what you find is your first, half dozen franchisees are people that somehow already have a connection to your business.
Yes.
It could be a customer, maybe family, friend, but there's 4,000 franchise brands out there, right? We all know that. There's been 4,000 franchise brands in the industry for as long as I've been around, and I'm sure well before. We're not really getting anywhere as an industry. We still have 4,000 brands. There's people that come and go. But I think one of the challenges that we have as an emerging brand is we can run out of money really quickly in franchise development and using brokers and franchise sales organizations and the like, where, if we're wiping out our franchise fee by paying in commissions, it's really hard for us to get enough critical mass where we're making enough in royalty to really get this thing sustained. So, one of the, I don't know, maybe this is more advice than a question, but one of the pieces of advice I would give to somebody starting out, this unsolicited advice that you didn't even ask for.
I'll take it.
Is to really hone in on, you've got a great model that you have perfected for 15 years. And that is to look at who your customers are, the people who are in your sphere already. Those are probably your first round of franchisees. I didn't even ask you about your Virginia franchise owner, but where did you find this person? Or how'd they find you?
She was very tired of her corporate job and wanted to leave, and came to me with the idea. Obviously, I was already franchising and approved, but she is my mom. My mom is my first franchisee. To prove your point.
That's great. It's true though, but too many of us franchisors, we run out of cash unnecessarily because we get lulled into this whole thing and we have to have this enormous franchise development budget to be successful starting out. That's not false. It's true if you're going to grind and kind of work against the other 4,000 brands that are out there. Yeah. You have a little bit of an advantage, obviously, Kerri. You are in your own class, no pun intended, right? But you're in your own category. You don't really have direct competition franchising, but you are still competing with everybody else that's trying to sell a franchise. And more likely than not, the person who's going to take a chance on you is somebody that has a connection to your business.
Of course. Mm-hmm. That makes sense, and it's a smart thing.
There's going to be no better franchisee than a referral. They're certainly the least expensive to bring on.
Yeah, definitely. If I make a mistake, she can't be angry.
Well, she can.
She can. Yes, this is true.
Once a franchisee has launched their business, what does a typical day look like for them? Because they're going to be coming from these corporate jobs into this new world of business ownership. Mm-hmm. What does their life look like?
It's definitely a switch up for sure. During the day, it's a lot of customer service, marketing, planning, scheduling, and prepping. After school hours, that's when the kids come in or the adults come in for their evening classes. And if the franchisee chooses to teach, then they can teach, or if they're, more behind the scenes, they can just be that front-facing person in the studio. Weekends, again, classes and birthday parties and prepping, and just their day switches from kind of pleasing a boss or a manager to kind of being that manager and making sure that their space is looking beautiful and that their customers are happy and that things are running smoothly, prepared, and that they're marketing effectively as well.
It sounds great. I mentioned to my sister, actually, who's a teacher, that I was coming on with you just before I was coming on, and she said, "Wow, that sounds fantastic."
Awesome.
So yeah, it really is a great business, and
Thank you.
yeah, that sounds like a great life.
That's awesome. Kerri, what's the investment range to get into a franchise? I think Kirk may need to know this for his.
First,
Yeah.
it's 139,000 to 247,000. It does require a, brick and mortar location. There is a component to the business that's a bit mobile, but primarily everything is run inside of a studio. So it's a bit higher than, some other enrichment brands that are mobile. But it does kind of have the best of both worlds that way.
How big is the brick and mortar typically?
1,400, 1,800 square feet is kind of the ideal range. This way, franchisee can have 2 classrooms and have things running simultaneously, because there's only so many hours in the day that children are free, right? So we want to make sure that we're maxing out that size, but not being too large either. There's a bit of a retail component to each studio, a reception, obviously. And then we do have a big fashion show at the end of a season where the kids get to model everything that they've made. So there needs to be enough space to set up the runway and lighting and kind of have this big fashion show as well.
All right. Kerri, since you've started this journey into franchising, what's maybe something that has surprised you weren't expecting?
That's a great question. I don't know that I have an answer to that. If there's anything that surprised me so far, what's actually surprised me? How open the industry is. Everyone's willing to share. There's no gatekeeping here. Everyone's just like, sure, this is who I use for this, vendor sharing and whatnot. I found that extremely refreshing. Coming from a fashion background, that it has not always been the case, from my experience. So it's really a nice, refreshing industry where everybody seems to know everybody too, which is wild.
Yeah, it is a very, very close-knit community for sure, and people are willing to share what works, what doesn't work, and even direct competitors. There's just too much business out there, and it's that the community is very generous. So I'm glad you've already experienced that for sure.
Yes, I have. Loving it.
Awesome. Where do you see this brand growing over the next 5 to 10 years? I'd love to kind of hear your vision for where you hope to be.
Sure. I mean, I would love to grow it as large as possible. I'd love to be the fashion school of rock. That's my goal. And
nice.
However, that can happen, I'm open and I'm game. I initially, in the beginning, as I'm learning, would like to grow a little bit slower. 5 to 6 locations in the first year or so, until I really get my flow down and training and build the right team. As I'm sure you both know, building that team of vendors and people, it's a process for sure.
It is. It's so important to bring on the right people. I always share with founders when I kind of do some advisory work that it's important that we really try to bring on the person who is my weakness. Basically, yes. I need them to fulfill my weaknesses, because we don't need 2 people doing the same things, right? And yes. So if you could find that person, that's most important. And also when it comes to bringing on the right people, and the best people are not the cheapest by any means. Often it's stretching ourselves a little bit, and it will go a long way, though. It's really important. Hiring for your weakness, to me, if I had to name one thing that made all the difference in my business, it was that. And I couldn't recommend that enough.
I can definitely see that. My weakness, that whole being on stage thing. So my weakness is definitely the sales process. So hiring someone that can be that,
we all
very
have something.
Energetic, amazing salesperson, I think is something that I am currently working on.
Yeah. Well, and like for me, it was the systems and processes. I did it. I know you'll do the sales part. Like I did systems and processes, but it was a little more painful. And for those of us that are wondering, like, well, I'm not exactly sure. Like we all have weaknesses. I always tell people your weakness is the one where you're not in flow. It's the task or the responsibility you have in your business that takes the most brain power for you to do. and causes the most, the biggest challenge is the one where it's like, I do it. I feel like I'm grinding and I'm not in flow. That's the weakness that we need to hire somebody to do.
Yes, yes, I absolutely see that. So I'm identifying those weaknesses
Good for you.
at this time as we speak.
Kerri, where do you, we talked about a little bit about growing this brand. Do you see this as a legacy brand for you, or do you hope one day I'm going to make this part of a platform and have it under private equity and take it as far as I can go? What do you think? Have you even envisioned kind of long term beyond growth, how you want to position this company?
Absolutely. I do think at some point I would like to exit as founder, maybe stay on a board of some sort. And very much down the road, potentially do something else. I have some ideas, but I really do love this brand, and I'm, in it for the long haul for sure, until that time comes when it might be a good thing to pass it off to somebody else. If there's ever a time where I'm no longer passionate about it, that will be my signal to
Good for you.
Hand it off.
Good for you. Well, I know you're in the beginning of the journey, but you always hear people say it's really important to have sort of an exit strategy or an exit plan. The truth is, for me, I didn't have any exit strategy starting out. I thought I was going to do my business for life, but as you start to grow and you start to develop a team that's really doing everything that needs to be done, and you start to see, hey, I can start drifting off into other challenges and other opportunities. You never know where the business can go, but I love that you're already kind of thinking that way and knowing that you can take it as far as you feel is necessary, and making sure that the fashion class is always being led by the right people, right? Even if it's not ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And there is something to be said about somebody coming in with a fresh perspective and fresh energy and, making it their baby. They're, like you said, we all have skill sets, we all have weaknesses, and I'm, not opposed to understanding and learning that.
Yeah, well, this is such an exciting time for you starting out. I would love for you to, first of all, share with our audience why now is, you think, a great time to join your brand. This is something it's been your baby for 15 years.
Yes. I think now is a great time to join because it has been such a long time. So I really do have the system in place, and it's sewing. So there's a curriculum. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of sewing projects. We don't repeat anything. We have a curriculum that lasts 9 years, and a child can take classes with us. And they do. Sometimes they come at 5 and leave at 18. A child can take classes with us for a very long time and never repeat a project, which is, I think, amazing and something I'm super proud of. It makes the business, it can't really be replicated because of that history. So I think now is a great time because franchisees will get access to all of that. So instead of going out and doing it on your own, say you have some sewing skills and you think, I can do this, I can set up a studio, I'll get a couple machines, I'll start, people do that, and I'll tell you, they sew pillows and aprons, and there's nothing else. So over 15 years, I've got lots and lots of beautiful projects ready to go, videos telling you how to do these projects, beautiful, well-written curriculum about the fashion industry and illustration and how to create a fashion brand, all in a very kid-friendly, fun way. I launched a toddler program recently, which is fun too. It's a hand sewing, very, very safe hand sewing program that's been very, very popular here, and really, really cool to see 3-year-olds making things that they can use and wear. So I think I'm going off on a really long tangent here about it, but I think that now is a great time to join because I have so much content and I want to share it. Being
That's
small,
wonderful.
Franchisees will get access to me in my training, and I can really help them at this space for sure.
I think it's really awesome what you're doing in these so many different communities, and we've seen what fast fashion is doing to the world, and you're teaching kids how to make their own clothes. I mean, and as well as getting all these different fine motor skills. It's a great thing that you're doing. It's a real unique thing that you're doing, and I'm sure you're going to fly. So yeah,
thank you.
It's really great.
Thank you very much.
Kirk, one of the things I kind of picked up on is Kerri was talking about the variety of her content. It's really similar to what you did with Mini Athletics, because You and your wife have really emphasized the importance of child development, but mixing things up, and it's never boring. There's always something different.
Yeah, it's got to be, right? And it's got to be new and fresh, and we've got to continue to innovate. I've just come from Disney World, where on vacation, where there's so much innovation going on there for kids that I was super inspired about. And so, yeah, I think that we have a responsibility to our franchisees to continually innovate the program. And that's one of the really key parts of support. And by the sounds of it, Kerri, like it sounds like you've got that in abundance.
Thank you. I think so.
So my last question to both of you is: we've talked about pizza that you recommend, but off camera, but can you recommend a book that you've read that really inspires you?
Ooh, okay. All right, Kerri, you want to go first?
I can plug my fashion design for kids book. No, I'm kidding.
Do it.
Fashion Design for Kids, written by Kerri Quigley. I wrote it during the pandemic because my studio was closed. I mean, E-Myth obviously is a classic. I love that for business, and reading that felt so empowering because I felt like on some level I was kind of doing those things, working on, not in, and yeah, that's what I'm going to say. I'll say E-Myth.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say the E-Myth, but since you took it from me, Kerri, I have to come up with another one now.
You can say it.
Oh my gosh.
Your book.
You know another book? No, I'm not going to say my book, Kirk.
Your book is incrable.
Well, thank you. I'm not going to be that host. I'm not going to start plugging my book. Thank you. But anyway, what book actually it helped change the business for me was The Power of Why. It was a Simon Sinek. And because I really got a chance to know my why. I think when I started my business out, I didn't have a really good understanding on why we were in business. And I understood that we were in the kid space and sports, but I didn't, the whole line about we're helping kids to succeed in life through sports. That was sort of the result of the work that I did by reading Simon's book. Mm-hmm. That made a huge difference for me. But but if I had to pick one, Kerri, I'm with you. It's the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. It is a classic. Yep, for sure. Well, okay, I got one more question. You know what, Kerri? I did not ask you an icebreaker question, and I want to know more about Kerri Quigley. So I've got 20 questions. You pick the number, and I'm going to ask the question. And this is like a wild card here.
All right, let's pick number 5.
Number 5, when was the last time you thought, this is why I started the brand?
On Friday, Natalie Portman was in my studio. So I walked in and Natalie Portman was
way.
So Friday, yes.
That is so cool.
She's gorgeous.
Did you realize it was her when she walked in?
Oh yeah. I had advance warning that her child was taking a week of camp with us. So yeah, I did have advance warning, but I was running late and I tried to get there early because I was coming from the other studio and there's traffic, and she was literally leaving as I came in. So I got to say hi, but like, not that I would have, I definitely would not have fangirled over her or anything. And I just would have been, thank you so much for being here. How did you like? Yeah, I would have loved to have a conversation, but I was late. Thank you, New York City traffic.
Oh, that is amazing. Wow, that is great. All right, last question, I guess. If someone was interested in learning more about opening the fashion class, including Kirk's sister, where would they go?
Startafashionschool.com is the official franchise URL, or you can access it from thefashionclass.com as well.
All right, very nice. Well, Kerri, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. I wish you all the best. Looking forward to seeing where this franchise journey goes. And of course, Kirk, thanks again, man. Appreciate you being this guest co-host for me. I know we're going to be doing another show again.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Thanks, Kerri. It's great.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, well, thanks, guys. Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its hosts do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.